Behind the scenes of The Handmaid's Tale, a talented group of filmmakers works hard to bring the world of Gilead to life. Today on Collider, we tell you everything about the behind the scenes. Let's get started. Turning The Handmaid's Tale into a TV show came with a lot of changes to dive deeper into the story. Showrunner Bruce Miller thought TV was the best way to fully explore the dark world of Gilead, giving more space to the themes and characters than a movie could. One of the first big changes was revealing Offred's real name, June, early on in the show. It helped viewers connect with her better, whereas in the book, her anonymity really emphasizes how the regime strips her of her identity. Serena Joy's character was also reworked for the series. In the book, she's past her childbearing years, but in the show, she's still fertile, making the dynamic between her and June more intense. The show also added new characters and storylines, like Moira's backstory and her being openly gay, which wasn't in the original book. Visually, the show uses color to show the social hierarchy, with handmaids in red and wives in blue. The cinematography really puts viewers in the emotional world of the characters. Miller worked closely with Atwood to make sure the series stayed true to the novel, while also expanding its themes in a meaningful way. Behind the scenes of The Handmaid's Tale, the cast members have had some pretty wild experiences that go beyond just acting out the heavy scenes. While filming in a world as dark as Gilead, there's still plenty of room for fun and bonding among the cast, which makes it all feel even more real. Elizabeth Moss, who plays June, didn't just act in Season 4, she also directed one of the biggest scenes. The train crossing scene was a huge challenge, not just for her as an actress, but as a director too. The weather was unpredictable, and Moss had to ensure the scene stayed consistent across 2 very different days. She's always deeply focused on making sure June's trauma is felt in every scene. She's a person who's been through extreme trauma and isn't a normal person capable of having normal experiences, Moss says, highlighting how much she puts into the role. Max Minghella, who plays Commander Nick, has a blast on set with his co-stars, especially Bradley Whitford. He thinks Whitford is hands down the funniest person on set. Off-screen, the cast loves to joke around. O.T. Fagbenley, Luke, laughs about how Amanda Brugel, Rita, keeps everyone in stitches, and McKenna Grace, Esther, talks about how Nina Kiri, Alma, brings tons of laughs. There's even a funny video on Instagram of Brugel rapping and dancing in character, which had everyone in stitches. Of course, there are emotional and physically demanding moments too. Madeline Brewer, Janine, talks about a tough scene with Ann Dowd, Aunt Lydia, where Janine had to process a lot of trauma. Samira Wiley, Moira, recalls shooting a cold, intense scene on a boat in the middle of the night with Elizabeth Moss. The weather was brutal, but the actors still powered through, showing just how committed they are to their roles. Even with all the tough moments, there's still room for some lightheartedness. Yvonne Strahovski, Serena Joy, reveals that her character's guilty pleasure is eating Twinkies at night. The cast's ability to balance the heavy with the fun creates a great atmosphere on set, and it's that bond that makes the show so powerful. When you think of The Handmaid's Tale, one of the first things that likely comes to mind is the striking red outfits worn by the handmaids, complete with their white winged headgear. These costumes have become iconic symbols of the dystopian world of Gilead, and behind their creation is Aine Crabtree, the mastermind costume designer who worked tirelessly to make sure the clothing not only looked visually striking, but also served a deeper purpose in telling the story. Crabtree approached her work on The Handmaid's Tale with a clear vision in mind. She didn't want it to feel like a traditional costume drama. She knew that, given the series' dark and oppressive themes, the costumes had to have a grounded, functional quality. They needed to be simple, yet powerful, representing the stripped-down lives of the women living in Gilead, a place where rights and individuality are completely erased. But Crabtree also wanted the clothes to serve as a reminder of the power dynamics in this world. They had to make viewers feel a deep, visceral unease, as if this could happen to them, to their loved ones. In short, the clothes had to be a character themselves. Crabtree began by opting to avoid both Margaret Atwood's original novel and the 1990 film Adaptation. She didn't want to be influenced by them. Instead, she focused on the scripts, researching present-day cults, religious groups, and films, including Hitchcock's classics and French and Italian New Wave cinema. She was also keen to understand the mind of Gilead's rulers. The commander doesn't want to spend money on handmaids, so the clothing has to be cost-effective, she explains. With this in mind, Crabtree created simple yet functional pieces, like the wrap skirt and cape with fishhook closures. These were designed to fit the women even if they became pregnant, keeping in line with the regime's need to control reproduction while maintaining a cold, utilitarian aesthetic. One of the most memorable aspects of the costumes is the iconic red color. which Crabtree stumbled upon quite serendipitously. She was working in a former glass factory in Toronto when she noticed a deep blood-red paint on the concrete floor. "I was obsessed with it," she says. The color spoke to her instantly, and she knew it was the perfect shade for the Handmaid's uniforms. Not only did it evoke blood and danger, but it also worked well across the varied skin tones of the cast, making it a universally flattering choice. In Crabtree's office, the creative process was chaotic but highly visual. She covered the walls with images layered one on top of the other. It was a mental cave, she says, where she and her team, tailors, actors, and directors, could come together to discuss and refine the costumes. The office became their meeting ground, a place where ideas were thrown around and experimented with. As part of this process, Crabtree created over 100 different versions of the Handmaid's headgear, which were dubbed wings for their lampshade-like shape. Each headpiece was custom-made for each actress, and some were even constructed with plastic for durability in rain scenes. "They don't stay white," Crabtree laughs, acknowledging the difficulties of keeping the headgear pristine on set. The reality of wearing these costumes was intense. Crabtree recalls the extreme weather conditions the cast endured during filming. They started shooting in sweltering 100-degree temperatures and finished in freezing 30-below conditions, often having to lie down to take a break from the heat. Despite the challenges, the clothing had to serve its purpose, acting as a constant reminder of the oppressive world the characters were living in. The material was also a key consideration. While the show is set in the future, Crabtree chose wool for its connection to the past, aligning with the story's regression to outdated and repressive ideologies. It wasn't just about making the costumes look a certain way, but also about choosing materials that could evoke the weight of history and tradition, elements that were being forced upon the women of Gilead. The costumes help create a world that feels both strange and eerily familiar, making the viewers feel deeply unsettled. Crabtree's work is a testament to the power of design and storytelling, showing just how much a piece of clothing can communicate about a character, a society, and a story. The visual effects in The Handmaid's Tale play a crucial role in bringing the oppressive dystopian world of Gilead to life. The show's VFX team, led by Brendan Taylor at Mavericks VFX, has been responsible for creating many of the show's striking visual elements since Season 2. One of the most significant tasks was transforming real-world locations, like Washington, D.C., to reflect Gilead's totalitarian regime. Landmarks such as the Lincoln Memorial were digitally altered, removing tourists and inserting digital handmaids to create an eerie atmosphere. In addition to digitally altering real-world locations, VFX was used to enhance the show's narrative depth. For example, in scenes that require large-scale destruction or intricate environmental changes, digital effects ensure that the show's bleak world feels vast and all-encompassing. The VFX team worked closely with the creators and directors from the early stages of production to plan these complex shots, ensuring that the digital elements blended seamlessly with practical effects. The collaboration between VFX artists and the production team is evident in the show's attention to detail. By combining digital and practical effects, The Handmaid's Tale successfully creates its world without overwhelming the audience. The magic of The Handmaid's Tale wouldn't be possible without the amazing team behind the scenes. All the elements come together to create a powerful experience that sticks with the audiences long after the show ends. Thanks for watching Collider. See you next time.